Hey guys, another short video this week because my life is still not completely back to normal. Just to give you a very quick update, we had more than one wedding reception. After our wedding day, the planning still didn't stop. We have a bit of a break right now, but right now I am going through my surname change. I got married last month and I have now legally changed my surname. If you guys follow my social media and stuff like that, you will see that my surname has changed. So I just wanted to make a quick note about that to clear up any possible confusion. That being said, let's jump into today's video. Lately, I've been getting quite a few new students, which has been really awesome. Possibly the hardest thing to do is to make them feel comfortable playing for you for the first time. I have been trying my best for a long time to come up with different ways of comforting people and telling them that it's okay, I'm not judging you. If you hear me typing, that's not me just writing everything wrong that you're doing. It's just the fact that if I don't write things down that I think of as you play, I am going to forget to tell you. But, you know, like, even when I say that, I notice that people still get really nervous. As the teacher, I really don't want that because all I want to see is where you are right now with your playing. And that way I can figure out exactly what I need to help you with. Because if I don't hear your mistakes, if I don't hear where you have gaps of knowledge, then I can't really help you. But it is pretty natural for humans to not want to show people your flaws. It's kind of weird because you're going to those lessons so that you can be better at that thing that you're taking lessons for. But at the same time, we live in a society where the idea of making mistakes in front of other people is seen as a very embarrassing thing. As much as people tell you that learning from your failures is what really helps you grow, there's still actually like a huge stigma against making mistakes in front of other people. But this week was the week that I discovered, quite by accident, a way to tell people that I want to hear their mistakes. I found myself just telling a new student this week, like, hey, when you start playing for me, I honestly don't care how you are playing the thing that you're playing for me. In fact, at this stage, mistakes are welcomed. I want to hear your mistakes. I want to hear where your pitfalls are so I can get you out of them. When I say that mistakes are welcomed, in a weird way, it almost makes making a mistake a positive thing. Whereas all of the other ways that I have tried to tell people that I don't judge them, I want to hear their mistakes, blah, 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 it still paints mistakes in a very negative light. After the first new student this week that I said that to, and like, I just noticed how differently this student presented their playing to me. I noticed how well they took it, and in fact, they played, ironically, very confidently for me. I decided to try it on basically everyone else. I even tried this on students that I've had for a while, but are learning something new. I tried to paint it as positively as possible, that making mistakes in front of me was a very good thing. Like, I just straight up told them that. Let me tell you guys, I think they actually played better in general because mistakes are no longer a bad thing. They're not as afraid of making mistakes. But most of all, when they made a mistake, I noticed that they were more prone to just keep going rather than stopping and apologizing for it because they knew that I had already addressed the fact that I would be hearing mistakes. I love that because I'm always trying to encourage my students to, like, even if you make a mistake, when you are performing it, you should just keep going. That is kind of part of how you learn how to perform anyway. A lot of times apologizing for your mistakes actually just kind of takes up time in the lesson that would be better spent by the teacher just teaching you how to correct those mistakes. If you allow your student to not apologize for their mistakes, you really have more time to teach them. It definitely is a win-win from any angle that you look at this. Prior to this point, I have always told my students that, you know, when you're learning anything new, there are two steps to it. The first step is to get it accurately. I don't care how slow you take it, but you need to do it 100% accurately. Once you can do it 100% accurately 100% of the time, or as close to 100% of the time, then you can start taking your metronome in and then just kind of going one click at a time up until you get to your target speed. Picking up the speed of whatever it is you're practicing and learning is really one of the easiest parts of learning something, especially if you leave it towards the end. This week, when I started to explain to people that mistakes are really welcomed, I realized that I have been leaving out one crucial step before all of that. So now, this is what I wanted to share with you guys, was that when you're learning something, when you are practicing something, I feel, and this is my current thoughts about it, it may evolve as I continue teaching. There are 3 phases to learning and practicing anything. The first phase is the learning phase. At this point, when you are presenting something that you are learning for your teacher, mistakes are very welcomed. We want to catch the mistakes early. So if you're not catching the mistakes during your practice times, the teacher wants to catch them during the early lessons of learning that piece of music or exercise or whatever it is. If we catch your mistakes early, you're going to have a much better time learning it. You won't end up creating a habit that you have to break later. The learning phase is sort of like your Rocky phase, where you're still learning the notes, you're still learning the rhythm. Yes, you are going to trip over yourself a little bit, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. All you're doing is you're getting to know the piece of music. Once you kind of feel like you have a good idea of how it's supposed to sound, you have a good idea of how it's supposed to feel, your second phase is then accuracy. That's when you're like, okay, I noticed that I'm making this mistake consistently. I need to work on this part for accuracy. And I describe to my students 2 of the ways that I know to tackle accuracy. One is sort of your really hardcore music school way, which is you play that phrase that you're having trouble with 10 times in a row perfectly. If you mess up on any of those times, you have to start it all over again. It can be very frustrating, but it is very effective. The second way is a lot less hardcore. Find the speed at which you can play that passage perfectly and just play it at that speed a few times. And then the next day you want to up the speed a little bit. So you are kind of tackling accuracy and speed at the same time. It's slow going, but it's also effective. So it really kind of depends on the type of person you are. Are you the type of person who wants to just kind of like get it right in one session? If so, then the 10 times in a row perfectly is your one session type of accuracy practicing. But if you want to do it over multiple sessions, you just start at a super slow speed that you can do everything perfectly, and then you just kind of work your way up very slowly over several sessions. Up to you. And then the last phase is speed. So any passages that have been left a little bit slow from the accuracy phase, this is the point where you take a metronome and you just go click by click up until you can go up to speed. Again, there's a hardcore and less hardcore way of doing it. The first hardcore way is to go up 1 click at a time, all the way up until you basically reach your breaking point for that day. In my experience, I find that even if I try to get up to my target speed in that particular day, I may not be able to reach it because my brain literally has a breaking point where I can't go any faster that day. But the next day, if I pick it up again, I just need to start maybe 1 or 2 clicks lower than where I left off the day before, and then I can keep going like another 10 clicks. The less hardcore way to do it is to give yourself a very attainable goal every day. So it's like just 5 clicks higher per day. And once you get to 5 clicks higher, you just pat yourself on the back and you're like, see you tomorrow. Again, the next day, what you do is you start like 1 click lower than where you left off, and then maybe do like 6 clicks more. And then that way, essentially every day you're going up 5 clicks. It really depends. Do you feel more hardcore, or do you kind of feel more like you want to just slowly get used to it? It all kind of depends on your personal preference in how you like to practice. No matter how you practice something or learn something, you will find that there are these 3 phases. That was this week's theme of teaching, and I just like sharing these types of things with you guys. Hopefully I can go back to my normal filming schedule soon. I did this week's video and last week's video the day before I'm supposed to post them, which is not ideal, but I'm running around like crazy doing my name change right now. So it's taken up a lot of extra time that I normally would have at home to film. So anyway, hope you guys don't mind, but I still want to drop in and say hi and let you guys know what my thoughts were this week. Love you all very much. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.